Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, August 21st. This is Gina McGuire. Over the next couple of days, we will continue to have increases to fire potential. Today, we will see continued gusty winds over parts of southern and eastern Nevada into Utah, and also mixed wet and dry showers and thunderstorms across much of Utah, with the better potential of some wetting rains in the higher elevations. We will also see an increase in some lightning over northern Nevada, which will certainly impact ongoing incidents as well as the potential for new starts with gusty outflow winds and only some areas seeing some rainfall. On Wednesday, thunderstorms move north and east over much of Idaho into the eastern half of Utah, with gusty winds and dry conditions over western Utah back into eastern Nevada. No significant impacts are expected for Thursday. Over the last 24 hours, we did see showers and thunderstorms across much of Utah and then also into the central Idaho mountains. These thunderstorms were a mix of wet and dry. In Utah, we saw rainfall amounts above 1/4 of an inch. In some areas in the higher terrain saw amounts of above 3/4 of an inch or an inch of precipitation. However, fuels are still very critical in these areas. Therefore, we saw numerous fire starts. Initial attack yesterday was light to moderate across the Great Basin with 25 new starts reported. Again, many of those starts reported with the lightning over parts of Utah. Over the last 7 days, we have had precipitation scattered across the Great Basin. Mainly, the better chances that saw wetting rain were in the south. However, we have seen light amounts further north, but over the last 2 weeks, much of this precipitation has still been below normal. Therefore, our fuel conditions are still critical, especially over the north and eastern areas of the basin, where ERCs are still above the 80th to 90th percentile. Even over much of eastern and southeast Utah, where ERCs would typically be lower this time of year, we are still seeing ERCs above the 80th or 90th percentile. Looking at some of our ERC charts in the central Utah mountains, ERCs are still well above normal and near records for the time of year, and we're still seeing those same conditions across northern Nevada up into southern Idaho as well. The satellite loop from this morning shows a trough of low pressure from the northern Rockies down into northern California. Out ahead of this trough is what's causing the breezy winds across the Great Basin and also pulling up moisture from the south, triggering the thunderstorms over much of Utah today again and back into northern Nevada. So again, looking at the weather pattern for later this afternoon, you can see the wetter variety of thunderstorms across Utah, but again, some of the heavier amounts of precip will be hit or miss and still producing gusty outflow winds with these thunderstorms, which will continue to increase the likelihood of new fire starts across Utah. Also, limited moisture over northern Nevada will allow for drier variety thunderstorms over the far northern portion of the state today, and we do have high risk, which also extends into parts of North Ops and northern California. The biggest threat from this lightning will be gusty outflow winds and only some areas seeing some lighter rainfall. The image on the left shows a better picture of those thunderstorms. Again, the better potential for some wetting rains will be across Utah, with more of a drier variety of storms over northern Nevada. You can see the wind image on the right showing those gusty outflow winds over northern Nevada, but also more of a sustained southwest flow with gusty winds and dry conditions today over southern Nevada into southwest Utah, with stronger winds potentially with thunderstorms over eastern Utah. As we move into Wednesday, this trough of low pressure starts to move a little bit further east into the northern Rockies. However, thunderstorms will move north into Idaho again and be a mix of wet and dry, as well as continue across Utah with drier air moving into western and northern Nevada. We do not have any high risk out for Wednesday, but we will continue to watch the lightning as it moves back up into Idaho. Looking at the picture for Wednesday, you can see the scattered showers and thunderstorms across Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. So again, we'll be watching the far north as these thunderstorms may be not quite as wet as some of the areas further south. Looking at the wind picture on the right, we'll see gusty outflow winds with the thunderstorms and also more of a sustained southwest gusty wind and dry condition over eastern Nevada into western Utah, possibly impacting some of the central mountains. On Thursday, that trough of low pressure moves to the east and we see a ridge of high pressure building across the Great Basin with drier air moving in, especially across northern Nevada into northern Utah, with no high risk issued. On Thursday, most of the lightning will be pushed well to the east. However, we still could see some isolated storms over southern and eastern Utah and possibly up into Wyoming. Looking at the winds on the right for Thursday, breezy southwest winds continue in the south and east, but shouldn't be as strong as what we'll see the next couple of days. We'll have to watch this wind up across Idaho into Wyoming and into northeast Utah as thunderstorms exit and relative humidity drops, we'll see some gusty west to northwest winds. The forecast amount of precipitation over the next 3 days shows the greatest amount in the higher terrain of Utah, but also some wetting rains possible over parts of Idaho, with again any thunderstorms today over northern Nevada likely being on the drier side. As we move into Friday, another trough of low pressure starts to drop south. This will allow for increasing winds again, this time over northern Nevada, northern Utah, and up into Idaho. We have issued high risk, as many of these areas will see lightning over the next couple of days. Therefore, it will increase the likelihood of holdovers and also affect ongoing incidents with decreases in relative humidity and an increase in winds. Any thunderstorms on Friday will likely be confined to far eastern Utah. As we move into Saturday, we get a little bit more moisture to move up north into eastern Utah, so we will continue to see showers and thunderstorms, maybe getting a little bit wetter on Saturday, and still looking at the potential for some breezy winds over parts of northern Utah into Idaho and possibly northern Nevada on Saturday. We don't have any high risk yet, but we will be watching this area as we go through the weekend for any potential high risk for gusty winds and low humidity. On Sunday, we still may see some breezy winds over parts of Idaho into northern Nevada and northern Utah, with the return of some lightning over central Idaho. And as we move into Monday, this trough swings eastward into the northern Rockies, so we may see a little bit of cooling, especially across Idaho, but potentially some breezy winds, and then drier conditions eventually in the south. The forecast amount of precipitation over the next 7 days looks very similar to the 3-day. However, we will see additional moisture over eastern Utah as we go through the weekend. Looking at the temperature and precipitation for the 8 to 14-day outlook, which takes us into the first few days of September, we do see more troughs moving into the basin, so we may see some cooling temperatures, possibly some wetter conditions for the north with these troughs as they move through, with drying in the south. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.